Welcome back. This is part 2 of a series of 3 videos about additional considerations. In part 2, we'll be filling out the forms and providing supporting documentation and covering what to do if you're applying late.
So, as mentioned, we're covering full applications, not self-certification. And for this, you need to look at section C of the form. So the first thing you'll see in section C, 3.1, which says, specify the period that assessments were affected. And for that, you're literally looking at, well, what period of time was I affected by this particular circumstance, and put the date from start to finish so they can see the range of time that you were impacted by your circumstances. And the next section here, you'll see section 3.2, modules affected by your circumstances. And this is really important. You need to list every assessment that was affected and the date, even if you think that you haven't been affected by the circumstances. It's safer to put it on the form than not.
Section 3.3 is about your circumstances and the impact. This is where you need to briefly describe the circumstances and their impact. The important part is the impact it has had on you as much as the circumstances themselves. The circumstances need to match the time period that you were being assessed. That is important too.
We then have 3.4, supporting documentation for request for additional consideration. This is where you list your evidence, essentially. If you don't have the type of evidence listed here, then you can ask us for advice. For example, if you're struggling with your mental health and it's stopping you getting the evidence you need from your GP or another health professional at the time of completing the form, that you have been talking to, for example, your SSGT or university counsellor or personal tutor, they can usually provide you with some kind of statement that you could use as evidence.
In section 3.5, if you don't have any evidence, you need to state why you don't have any.
So you need to explain what stopped you from applying at the right time. Not knowing about the process or the deadline, those things won't be accepted as reasons for lateness. In general, for this section, if you're struggling, you need to seek advice, really.
Thanks for watching. This has been part 2 of a 3-part series of videos about additional considerations. Come back for part 3, where we'll talk to you about common mistakes, common misconceptions, and the pitfalls of filling out the form.